All right, welcome back, you guys. We have Jeff Cowen in the house. He's here with TRPA. You are the Public Information Officer. How you doing, Jeff?
Very good, thank you. Good to be here.
It's good to have you here. It's always great to have you here.
Thank you.
So you got some important information coming up telling you if TRPA is doing a good job and what needs to be done in the Tahoe Basin. Tell everybody about this environmental threshold report that's
Perfect.
coming out.
So next week at our governing board, we'll be putting the environmental threshold evaluation report out for the first time in 4 years.
Okay.
And it's going to be out for public review, public comment, and just kind of like, having stakeholders and others give us input until June when we bring a final back to our governing board. So right now, this is the draft threshold evaluation report. It's important because it only happens every 4 years, but we've been doing it for about 40 years.
Okay.
And what we've seen is constant progress through the regional plan. The regional plan is like the policies, the programs, the environmental initiatives that are supposed to attain and maintain these 10 environmental threshold categories.
Okay.
And there's fisheries, noise, wildlife, water quality, air quality, transportation. There's a lot. There's 10. And within those, there's about 140 standards total that need to be evaluated every 4 years, and this is through scientific monitoring, data collection, some modeling, but it's always peer-reviewed before it gets to this point where we actually release it for public review. There's a bunch of scientists through the council, the Tahoe Science Advisory Council, that actually review the material before it's released to make sure that it's all valid.
So I'm guessing you've had a sneak peek. How is Tahoe looking? How are you guys doing?
It's just been constant progress on almost all the thresholds. There's a couple of holdouts, which are the water clarity. We're doing a lot better on water quality. There's a lot of stormwater that's being managed. There's fewer pollutants going into the lake every year. But the summertime clarity is getting worse. The winter clarity is getting better. So what that's telling us, and what our scientist partners at the council are looking into, is that a lot of the stormwater pollutant reduction that's getting fine sediment out of the water is working. But in the summer, we're getting hotter and hotter months, shallower and shallower water during drought conditions, and there is a lot of algae that's able to grow in those kind of conditions. So what we're looking for is to figure out on that and a couple of other thresholds, can we get enough science together to tell us what we need to change as far as policies and action strategies in the regional plan? And this has been going on for 40 years. It's just a constant every 4 years. We look, we adjust if needed to see if we can do better. And overall, 75% of the threshold indicators are all trending toward the positive.
That is great. That's great news. I think it's important for the public to remember that you guys are all guided by science. It's not like TRPA just comes up with these guidelines and just tells people to make changes because they just thought it was a good idea. They sat around in a meeting and said, you know what we should do? No, it's all guided by science. It's all trying to looking for the best outcome for Lake Tahoe and the people living here.
Because it's a different place. I mean, things will affect the lake here differently than they will in other places. So transportation improvements, they mean something different here. So we need to work a little bit differently around transportation, especially we have narrow 2-lane roads and we have a lot of recreation and pressure and demand moving around the basin and going to different places. So we're looking at how are sustainable communities with housing and transportation all connected, and how can we get more people out of their cars?
Yeah, so I'm assuming that's one of the challenges that you're facing.
It is.
What are some of the other challenges in the Tahoe Basin?
Well, so water clarity is the big one, I think, and then transportation sustainable communities. Aquatic invasive species, for the first time, we're actually measuring that we did not hit one of the thresholds, but that is because we got a new invasive species last year, which was New Zealand mud snail.
Right.
We're always trying to hold ourselves to a very high standard. So the mud snail was discovered at the end of the threshold evaluation report period, but we put it in to make sure that we are, showing everything that's happening in the basin as much as we know.
And how's that going with that mud snail?
Good, but it's terrible that it was introduced.
Yeah.
So far, it's been contained to the original discovery area.
So people haven't taken it from one part of the lake to the other.
And there's new protocols in place that are asking people to spill where they fill. So if they take on bilge water or ballast tanks in one area of the lake where there are New Zealand mud snails, we want them to empty it out there before they move to another part of the lake. Same goes for paddlers, kayakers, everything.
That's something in the summer that we really drive home here. And again, just a reminder to the public, you guys aren't just being bullies that are making up all these rules. There's a science behind it. There's a reason. And you're trying to prevent, for example, with the snail. I mean, they're tiny. They're the size of like rice.
Exactly.
It's so easy to have one on your stand-up paddle and then bring it to Fallen Leaf.
Yeah,
or bring it
exactly.
somewhere else. And so it's huge. Well, this is great. So if people want to find out more about this, if they want to go online and read this environmental threshold, you said it's coming up this week.
Yeah, so it's going to be out probably closer to next week.
Okay.
Thresholds.laketahoeinfo.org. Lake Tahoe Info is this humongous data collection site that has, if you get into it, oh my goodness, is it fascinating. But also, so our governing board meeting is next Wednesday,
Okay.
and we will be presenting the report to them as well.
Okay, next Wednesday. So if people just Google, because that website, nobody's going to remember that, Jeff.
Thresholds.laketahoeinfo.org. It comes up on my browser immediately. Well, yes, exactly. You can go to trpa.gov,
Okay.
watch for the governing board packet as well. This is the draft report. It won't be finalized until June,
Okay.
but it's a really good time for all of us to kind of check in and see how we're doing.
Right, and give you a blueprint for what the next 4 years need
Right.
to look like, what you need to change, what you need to work on. So, all right, well, thank you so much, Jeff,
You're
for
very
coming
welcome.
in.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for all the work that you're doing to keep this lake beautiful and preserve it for future generations. We appreciate you. So, yeah,
There's
you
a
guys.
lot of partners. It's
yeah.
definitely not all us,
Yeah,
but thank you.
absolutely. All right, well, thank you so much for coming in.